Hello, my friends, and welcome. 138 MMA here, and we're going to break down the entire UFC 286 pay-per-view. We're going to break down every single fight on the card. I'm going to give you my full analysis and my prediction for every single fight on the card. But before we do that, hey, if this is your first time to the channel, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for taking the time to check this out. Let me know in the comments if this is your first time. I do always like seeing that. Let me know if you got what your picks are. Let me know if you agree with some of my stuff, disagree with some of my stuff, whatever that may be. I sure like seeing you down in the comments. Now, if you've been around the channel for a while, hey, welcome back. I always appreciate seeing you guys down in the comments. There are some of you that I see just about every week down there. Give me your picks, give me your thoughts on everything, and trust me, it does not go unnoticed. I appreciate all of you. I'm always down there talking with y'all, and I do appreciate it very much. Now, last little bit here. You can find me on Twitter at 138MMA. You can find me on Tapology, 138MMA. And the newest thing, you can find me over on patreon.com/138MMA. And why did I start a Patreon? Well, there's a lot of information that I want to be able to give you guys, but I can't just give it all in these videos because the reason why as well, that takes a lot of time. And if I'm going to put the time and effort into do all these extra things that take a lot of time, I gotta give myself something in return. And it's not expensive. There's options for everybody. Head on over to patreon.com/138MMA if you'd like to see all of my notes. Before I even get my video out, you get to see my notes on the fighters. You get to see my full picks with confidence over there. So the confidence rating from 1 to 10, you get to see that next to the fighters. You're going to see what's called my Patreon parlay. Now, what that is basically just a parlay that I like that gets you right around even money or better. That's a parlay that I like for the card. Usually it also has a couple extra legs. It's got my parlay, and then it's got that extra leg, and then it's got the degenerate leg if you're just a psycho. The degenerate leg missed last week, but even the extra leg did hit on that one. So there we go. We had that. Now, let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and get into the fight, shall we?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, 138 MMA proudly brings to you the hottest picks in the world!
Versus grappler in this women's flyweight matchup. We have Juliana Miller coming in 3-1 in her career, taking on Veronica Macedo or Veronica Hardy, whatever you want to call her. I think Hardy is her official last name now, but it said Macedo when I looked this up, so we're going with that one. So for Macedo, she's 1-4 in her last 5 fights, which is not exactly what you usually want to see on a person's record going into a fight, but that's where we're at. So the height and reach is going to be in favor of Miller. She's 5'7" with a 66-inch reach as opposed to 5'4" with a 64-inch reach. Very much a striker versus grappling matchup because here we are. We have Macedo with very good striking, very taekwondo style of striking. She has what you think of your traditional taekwondo stance, at least the MMA adaptation. But she's very fast with good movement on the feet. So that's going to be good for her in this matchup because she's going to need to keep this on the feet and be able to get away from someone like Miller who's going to be trying to close that distance. So she needs to get in, land her combinations, and get out. Now, she does have poor takedown defense. Thankfully for her, Miller doesn't shoot a lot of rangy takedowns. She likes to shoot hers from the clinch. But once it does get to the mat, Macedo does lack in the grappling department. So she is accredited with some grappling background, but it hasn't shown in her fights. So we're going to go with that. So on the Miller side, though, Miller does have solid grappling. That is her best path to victory in most of her fights. And she's just going to outwork her opponents. She's going to just come forward with aggressive forward pressure, get into that clinch, get the takedown from the clinch, and use her grappling. Because when she's on the feet, her striking is very basic. Yeah, it's not horrible, but it's not good by any means. It's just very basic. And her striking defense is bad. And that's not what you want against a girl like Macedo, who's going to land those shots. Now, in this matchup for me, though, what I see happening is the taller, longer, rangier fighter being able to kind of forward press and then land shots while Macedo's trying to come in and just be more aggressive to back Macedo up to the cage, maybe get her in the clinch, drag her to the mat, and start working her grappling. So I'm going to take Miller possibly by submission, but I'm going to take Juliana Miller to get the win here in this matchup. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the matchup here. This is a tough one. I'll be honest. I've actually switched my pick a couple of times. So I'm going to break this one down the best I can. But I'm going to go ahead and let you in on that one that I am not confident in my pick ahead of time. But here we go. We're going to break it down. We have Ludovit Klein coming in 3-2 in his last 5 and Herbert 2-3 in his last 5. There's a massive height and reach advantage on the Herbert side. Now he's 6'1" with a 77-inch reach as opposed to 5'7" and a 72-inch reach for the Klein side. Now, both of these guys excel in the striking department. I think that's safe to say. We got good striking out of Klein here. He has well-timed counter strikes. He strikes back in combination with power, but my favorite part about him is his nasty kicks to all levels, whether it's your legs, your body, or your head. He's throwing those things with some very ill intent. Now, he does have decent counter wrestling as well. He likes to work his underhooks and keep it there. Now, on the other side for Jai Herbert. Jai Herbert is a solid striker with some serious power. Body kicks. Those are my favorite thing from Jai Herbert is the body kicks. But he also strikes in flurries, which is important. And he does the block and return. Now, the block and return for me, what that means is he takes the shots, blocks here like so, and then returns fire with whatever he needs to return with. Now, whether that's a straight punch, a looping hook, whatever that may be, he blocks and returns. He doesn't wait for his opponent to finish. That's a problem a lot of people have. They cover up and they wait, and their opponent's slinging, and then they finally, okay, we reset, and now we can strike. Nah, not for Jai Herbert. He blocks, returns, and that's good because why is that good? Well, you interrupt your opponent's combination, and we've already established that Ludovit Klein is going to strike in combination. Now, that doesn't work as well against single shot guys because a lot of times they throw their shot and then get out of the way. But a guy that strikes in combination, which is typically better than single shots, but in this instance, the block and return is good for Jai Herbert here. So his takedown defense isn't there. I don't think he's going to worry too much. Both of these guys are going to want to look to strike, I do believe. But when it gets into the tie clinch, he will strike and then get into that tie clinch. And because he's so tall, he can pick those knees up and hit a shorter guy pretty easily. Those knees are absolutely deadly. And watching a lot of his fights, actually outside of the UFC, those tie clinch knees are the detriment to many of his opponents. So I do like that a lot as well. The body kicks and the tie clinch knees are my favorite things about Jai Herbert. Those nasty kicks to every single level are my favorite for Klein so far. Actually, just those are my favorite. Let's put it that way. The Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for Herbert's pretty good. I do like the fact that he's able to use his length to work his jiu-jitsu, to kind of work for submissions or wrap his opponent up or whatever he needs to do. He's fine on the ground. I don't think he's going to get to the ground though. So if it does, it's going to be short-lived. This is going to be a striking matchup. Now, like I said, I've switched my pick multiple times, and I still may switch my pick again. So as you can probably assume, I'm not super confident in this pick because this is a very tough one. If I do switch, I will switch. It'll at least be on my Tapology, if nothing else, if I switch my pick. But right now, as of this moment, the slightest tiny little bit, I'm leaning on the Klein side because I think he's going to be able to get inside the pocket, work those combinations, work those nasty kicks that he's got, and just edge out a victory here. Jai Herbert is dangerous as all get out. But right now I'm leaning Klein. And I may change my opinion. You may be able to sway me in the comments. If you're on the Herbert side, please drop a comment down below. Let me know why you're on the Herbert side, and if maybe you can sway me. So that's where we're at right now. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next flyweight division here. We have Luana Carolina coming in 3-2 in her last 5, taking on Joane Wood, who is 1-4 in her last 5. Now this is an interesting matchup because both women are very similar in their approach to their fighting. So good striking, good solid Muay Thai, volume, key. Yes, I works punches and kicks together. I probably could have put that on both sides. Either way. Tie clinch. Both of them work really well with the elbows and knees from the tie clinch, and both struggle off their back. Now, I did put decent takedown defense here because I've heard a lot of rumblings that a lot of people think Joane Wood's going to shoot a takedown and get the takedown. I don't know that that's going to be the case. I predict this to be a striking matchup from start to finish, and that's probably what we're going to get. Probably a decision, and it's probably going to be a striking-based decision. Now, they're darn near mirror images of each other as far as what they want to get done in this matchup. The only thing different I can really see is the minus here. That's going to be on the 37-year-old for Joane Wood, and the plus here, which is going to be on the 29-year-old of Luana Carolina. For me in this matchup, I am not confident in this one, but I'm taking Luana Carolina because she's the younger fighter, and I do think that being 1-4 in your last 5 just doesn't look good. And this hurts me because I'm actually a big Joane Wood fan. I just like her voice. It sounds very nice. So I want her to win so that way she can get the post-fight interview because I want to hear her say something because it just sounds cool. But anyway, I'm going to take Luana Carolina in this matchup. I just think she's probably going to be able to get the win with her youth, activity, things like that. So that's where I'm at, but zero confidence in it, and I'll see you guys in the flyweight matchup here. And I've got to say I'm really looking forward to this one. We have Malcom Gordon. Yes, 2-3 in his last 5. Doesn't look that good, but he's an exciting fighter to watch. Now he's going up against Jake Hadley, 4-1 in his last 5. Much better on the 5 on in. also an exciting fighter to watch. Now, in this matchup here, we're going to kind of cross-reference some of this stuff because it's interesting because both guys, their best abilities is their jiu-jitsu. For Jake Hadley, he's very slick with his jiu-jitsu. He's quick to snatch up his submissions. And the best thing about him, I think, is his back taking. He's excellent at taking the back. Even if his opponent is still standing, he can get a hold of that back and start controlling there. Now, with the wrestling, that leads into that because he has good wrestling. He's very solid at just a couple of takedowns. He has 2 takedowns in particular that he does very well. The body lock and the double leg. These 2 are his takedowns he's going to go to in almost every matchup. That's going to lead him to his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, with the striking, he does have good combinations and decent power for a guy at 125 pounds. Because when he hits you, it's he's going to put a little zip on those shots. And we've seen him drop guys on the regional scene, especially with those combinations. Now, on the other side, Malcom Gordon hits a little bit harder than Hadley, I would say. I put good striking, but it's odd. He has odd angles in his strikes. But the forward pressure and the power made me say, you know what? I'm going to say he has good striking. So, obviously, my ratings are not super technical on those, but that's what we get. Now, he does keep his guard really high, which is impressive, or which is important. I mean, not impressive. Important, because his chin is suspect. He does tend to get rattled a lot. I put a question mark by it, but really isn't a question. He does get rattled a bit when he gets hit, but he does keep the guard high, which is good in this matchup especially. Now, his takedowns, they're all right. They're average. At best, they're average. I don't even know if they're actually average. They're probably a little below. But his jiu-jitsu on the ground is very good. Now, when he gets you down there, he's good in the scrambles, but he's very good at snatching up your arms, whether that be for an armbar or a kimura. When your arm is out there, he's going for it, and he's on that thing faster than you can say a word really fast. I don't know, but he's very quick on the ability to snatch up the arms. Now, for me, this matchup is very interesting in the grappling exchanges, and the way that I find myself leaning before I actually give you my pick, I am big on the under 2.5 in this matchup because somebody's getting subbed. That's what I'm thinking. Somebody gets subbed, potential knockout if it's on this. Gordon gets knocked out, I could see because that chin. I don't know, but I don't see Hadley getting knocked out, although he maybe a TKO. But either way, I do expect a submission in this matchup. So I'm going to play the under 2.5 in this one for sure. But I'm going to pick Hadley as my pick. I do think he's the better of the 2 overall. He's got more paths to victory, and I think on the mat, his grappling is going to be able to hold up against Malcom Gordon. So I'm going to lean Jake Hadley here. Let me know what you guys have. Let me know if you're also on the under 2.5 in this matchup, because I sure am, and I'll see you guys in the middleweight matchup. This should be fun for as long as it lasts. Dusko Todorovic taking on Christian Leroy Duncan. For Todorovic, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights, obviously undefeated on the Duncan side, so clearly that makes him 5-0 in his last 5. So in this one here, it's interesting because Todorovic, he did really well outside of the UFC. He has a win over Michel Pereira where he just walked that guy down, landed some serious strikes on him, just pounded him out until he just kind of curled up in a ball on the ground and got finished. It was utter domination. Now, he looked awesome outside of the UFC, but then when he gets to the UFC, he's just kind of been a little That's why he gets the infamous inconsistent moniker. So for Todorovic, I'm going to kind of break this down a little bit better for you. He does have decent striking, and the volume of that striking is what we saw in the Pereira fight where he beat him. So what he did is he's going to walk forward, threw his shots, worked his combinations, kept coming with that pressure, walked him down before he could do anything about it. Now, the problem with Todorovic is the striking defense isn't there, and he'll linger in the pocket too long after he'll throw his shots and just kind of be there. And guess what? That's when he gets hit, and when he gets hit, well, his chin's not that good, so he can get dropped. Now, he does have decent wrestling offensively. He can mix in his own takedowns, and it helps because he's coming forward with that volume in the striking. So he's able to then change levels and get the takedown. Now, the problem is his takedown defense isn't very good. But is it really a problem? I don't think so, because his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is good, and he has that to work off of his back, and he's got some slick submissions from there that he can work if you do take him down. In fact, his grappling is probably better than his striking, although his striking has got him his best wins in his career. So there's that. But he's a very kill or be killed fighter, whether that's on the ground or on the feet. You know what you're going to get with a guy like Todorovic. Now, on the other side, for Duncan, very good striking here. He's versatile, flying knees, elbows, lots of spins and flashy stuff. Now, a lot of that's good. The spins and flashy stuff, I'm not a big fan of most of the time. But the elbows and the flying knees, he'll work elbows in combination where he'll throw multiple in a row, which is impressive and kind of strange, but it seems to work for him. Obviously, he's undefeated. But he's got pretty good power to match, so that's a good thing for him, especially against a guy with a so-so chin. I do like the wrestling here as well. He does have decent wrestling. Now, not simply for the fact that he can get the takedowns, because I don't think that's his best path. I think his best path is striking here. But because he has a good takedown defense, and if he does get taken down, he works back to his feet as quickly as possible, typically. Now, that's good because you don't want to be on the ground against Todorovic, but also he can mix his own takedowns in when needed. Now, ultimately in this matchup, for me, I got to go with Christian Leroy Duncan because I can't trust the chin of Todorovic, and he's also inconsistent, and you know how I feel about inconsistent fighters. So I'm going to take Christian Leroy Duncan for the win. Let me know what you guys have in the comments. And matchup here that was added a bit late. We have Lerone Murphy taking on Gabriel Santos. Now, Santos is the featherweight champion over at LFA. Well, not anymore. I guess he's in the UFC, but both of these guys are undefeated, so there is that. And they're a couple of very solid strikers, but just different in their style of striking. So we'll start with Santos over here. He's very technical in his striking. He's fast. He's got lightning quick hands, lightning quick kicks. And he's going to switch his stance quite a bit. Over on the other side, for the Murphy side, we're looking at Lerone Murphy, who's a powerful striker, who's more content to kind of throw less volume, but counter well, and also come through with that explosive athleticism that he uses in his strikes. In this one here, there's only a couple of drawbacks. The takedown defense of Murphy, he does usually get back to his feet, whether that be just because the round ends or because he's able to work back to his feet. But he does usually get back to his feet at some point because obviously he's undefeated in the UFC, so there's that. He's undefeated in his MMA career, so there's that. But the other side, we have Santos coming in with a short notice fight. So what was it, like a week that he took this fight on, maybe a little over? So either way, it's going to be an interesting one here. Now, where I lean, this is going to be the shortest breakdown on the card probably, but the way that I lean, I'm kind of leaning Santos. And I could be talked out of this, so I'm not sold yet, but I'm leaning Santos for right now. And I think it's just because he's riding an awesome wave of momentum. Dude fought not that long ago, been doing well, crushing people. His striking is able to keep up with a guy like Murphy, and I think he's going to be able to out-volume Lerone Murphy. So that's why I'm going to lean Santos right now. Like I said, I could be wrong on this. I'm not going to bet this one, but, at least not right now. Let me know what you have, and I'll see you guys. We got a matchup between flyweights. We got Jafel Filho taking on Mokaev. Now, Mokaev is 4-0 and a no contest in his last 5, but he's undefeated in his career so far. Now, for Filho, he's 5-0 in his last 5 fights. In this one here, we'll start with the Filho side. Filho is a fast starter. He's a very fast starter. What he's going to do is come forward and throw his strikes. Very powerful strikes at that, but the defense is not exactly there. He does get hit a lot. But he's got solid takedown defense, which is going to be important against a guy like Mokaev, because Mokaev wants to wrestle. Now, for this matchup here, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that Filho has, I got a little tongue-tied there, sorry about that. The Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that he has is going to be important because he's got the body lock and trip takedowns of his own, but I think that the person doing the taking down is going to be Mokaev. Now, if Mokaev gets a takedown, though, Filho is not lost on the mat because he's aggressively going to be looking for submissions. And I think in a matchup like this, I think that he does have a shot at snagging one of those up. We saw Malcom Gordon almost get Mokaev out of there with a submission. Now, if Filho is able to lock something like that up, there is the opportunity for him to get out, although it's never happened to him before, but it could. So now we're looking at the Mokaev side. He's going to be a strong wrestler with a variety of takedowns. And the thing that's important about his takedowns is the volume of his takedowns. He's just going to relentlessly keep going for them because he has a gas tank that just doesn't stop. If you can't shoot as many takedowns as this guy does without getting tired, and then say you have bad cardio. He's got very good cardio. Now, anyway, when he does get the fight to the mat, he does have very strong ground and pound. He's looking for that finish, whether it be from a submission or ground and pound. But typically, the ground and pound is the first option, and then he'll go to the submission if you give it to him. The problem is he does sometimes struggle to hold his opponents down. Opponents have been able to get back up. We saw that in the matchup with Charles Johnson. The dude got up like, I don't know, dozen times maybe. I don't know. It was a lot, but he could not hold him down. He kept letting him back up. But he was able to take him right back down with another aggressive takedown. So that's very important. In the striking department, he's not bad. He's decent. I would say he won't be the better striker in this matchup, I don't believe, but he's going to be fine. But he can get lax defensively at times because he's thinking too much about the wrestling and not as much about the striking defense, and that can be a problem. So in this matchup, I think it's a very close matchup comparatively to what the odds say. I don't think that those are correct. So I'm going to go with Mokaev in the matchup, though. Although I know he's a big favorite, I don't trust him as much as those odds say, but I do think Mokaev is going to be able to get this one done. I think he's going to be able to get those takedowns and just win enough minutes in the matchup and make it hard enough for Filho to be able to throw back with power. So I'm going to take Mokaev. Let me know what you guys have. Are you predicting a big upset here? If not, no big deal. Take Mokaev. Get it. He's a favorite for a reason. That's why he is that big of a favorite, because most people are on that side. So anyway, let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next matchup. We have Yanal Ashmoz taking on Sam Patterson. This is a interesting matchup because both guys are 5-0 in their last 5 fights. Obviously, Ashmoz is undefeated overall. There's a massive height and reach advantage on the side of Sam Patterson. Now, I have him listed as 6'3". Some have it 6'4". You decide. But he has a 78-inch reach. That seems to be unanimous across the board. He's fighting against a guy who's 5'9" with a 70-inch reach. So that is a massive height and reach advantage for Sam Patterson because he does use it pretty well, especially in the grappling, and we'll get to that in a moment. Now, in this one here, we're going to start with Sam Patterson. Now, if you haven't seen it, I did do a pretty in-depth breakdown of Sam Patterson prior to his Dana White's Contender Series matchup. You can find it on my channel. Feel free to go scroll on back to that if you're feeling wild. It is just a single video of his breakdown of his fight. So there's that. Now, he does have very good boxing. He's got some snap on his punches, but the striking defense isn't there. He does that, for all you old-timers like me, he does that terror squad defense. You know, the lean back. Yeah, okay, I'm terrible. I shouldn't sing. But either way, Sam Patterson, terror squad defense, it's a bad idea, especially against a guy with power in his hands like Ashmoz, because if he does that, yeah, sure, he gets out of the way of the first one, but what happens when they throw a second one? I got this guy I always work with in the gym. He's a real big dude. He's like 6'3" or whatever. Big, buff dude, right? And I'll be working a drill in the midst with him, and I'll tell him, okay, you got to, slip out of the way or duck under one of my shots and then come back with your own, right? And as he gets tired, he starts to do this instead of ducking under, right? And then he's like, well, it worked. Why can't I just do that? And I was like, well, that's because I'm only throwing one. Now, what happens if I throw two? He's like, I don't know. I just lean back further. That's not the case. Because what happens is I'll throw the one I want him to duck under, and then he just does the lean back. And then I throw my next punch as I come through. And guess what? He can't lean back any further because, this isn't a limbo competition. This is a fight. So, and obviously we're just working a pad drill there. No big deal. But when that happens, he says, oh, well, that makes sense why I can't just do that. But if I ducked under, I'm already ready to strike back. But if I'm back here, I can't really strike back. Well, that's the thing. You can do a pull, but if you start leaning back too far, you lose that ability. So that's why that leaning back is a bad striking defense, especially against a guy with power in his hands who can fall with multiple shots and put you down with that. So anyway, that's where I'm at on that. I probably went a little too in detail on that. Patterson does have solid Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. When he gets on the ground, his long limbs help him just wrap up his opponents, whether he's wrapping up a limb, wrapping up a neck, wrapping him up just to hold him there and flip him over. Whatever he's got to do, he's got that. But he does have those choking arms, those long, skinny arms that slip right under a neck. He has those, and that works out really well because he's able to lock up a lot of chokes on his opponents. But the takedown defense isn't that good. He does work for subs or get back to his feet once he does hit the mat. So it's not like he's just content to lay there. But he can be taken down, and he can be taken down a lot. Now, he's going up against a guy in Ashmoz who kind of a jack of all trades. He does everything well. Nothing I've seen is exceptional yet. But then again, 6-0 in the career, young in the career. So we can't really know for sure. But he seems just going to be a jack of all trades. The one thing I guess I will say that is exceptional is his cardio. The dude seems to be able to go for days. But he's got the power in his hands, like I said, and the wrestling and top pressure could be a thing that really could cement him a win here in this matchup if he uses the proper game plan. If he works that wrestling, gets on top, grinds out some minutes, and then every time with that cardio that he has, every time that Patterson works his way back to his feet, he's able to just secure that takedown, maybe throw a couple of big shots and then secure the takedown again. I can see him getting the win that way. Now, here's the problem, though. He's going up against a guy that's really good off his back and really good with those submissions. Can also, when he's trying to get to the, trying to stuff the takedown, he's just going to snatch up a neck. Now, he's a guy that has those, like I said, those choking arms. Sam Patterson is going to be able to threaten with the submission enough that it could possibly slow down Ashmoz's ability to shoot those takedowns because he's going to be worried about getting his neck snatched up. So basically, it's going to come down to that. Can Patterson keep it on the feet, work the boxing at range? And then if it does go to the ground, can he work that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Or does Ashmoz come through, throw big bombs, maybe land one on Patterson, and if not, just get the takedown, lay on top for as long as he can while hitting the ground and pound, and rinse and repeat, basically. So for me, this is a very close matchup, and there's a lot of unknowns, just like 6-0 total record. 10-1-1 isn't a super in-depth record, but you can watch every single one of Patterson's fights and get a pretty good idea of him because a lot of them are right there, readily available. And, 12 fights is more than double. I mean, it's double. It's actually exactly double of Ashmoz over here. So we do have a better sample size of Patterson. Now, in this matchup, I'm going to slightly lean the Patterson side. Check the patreon.com/138MMA to find out my exact amount that I'm leaning Patterson. But either way, I'm leaning Patterson here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I will see you. On the lightweight division, we have Omar Morales coming in 2-3 in his last 5 fights, taking on Chris Duncan, who is 4-1 in his last 5 fights, suffering his only loss a couple of fights ago. In this one here, Omar Morales is a bit older. He's 37 years old, taking on the 29-year-old in Duncan. But Morales does have a bit of a height and reach advantage. He's 5'11 with a 74-inch reach, as opposed to the 5'10", 71.5-inch reach, 71.5-inch reach for Duncan. Now, this is an interesting matchup because both guys are predominantly strikers, but they both can do other things, but they're both predominantly strikers. So I do think that's where it's going to take place, especially with one thing I'm going to mention first. Morales does have good wrestling, but he primarily uses it defensively, and he has a solid takedown defense. Now, he can get the takedowns offensively if he wants to. He's done it before in the UFC. He just doesn't use it often. I think he's, got 2 or 3 takedowns in the UFC. So not a lot. So it's probably going to be a striking matchup because we know that's what Chris Duncan wants to do. Now, when it comes to Omar Morales, he is a very technical striker. He's aggressive with forward pressure, but he's very technical in doing so. His kicks, I like them a lot. His kicks are probably one of the better things in this matchup for him because they keep him at kicking range, not boxing range. And at boxing range, Chris Duncan is kind of a problem for a guy like Omar Morales. Now, Morales does have a good sense of when his opponent is hurt. He has that killer instinct, but he doesn't get overly aggressive with it. Yes, he's an aggressive striker, but he doesn't get a little jumpy when he gets somebody hurt. He knows when they're actually hurt, and he's able to follow up on that very well. And it's something we've seen in a lot of his fights throughout his career, throughout multiple organizations. Now, for Chris Duncan, dude is durable. We know that for sure. Yes, he can get knocked out, but he can also eat a lot of shots before going down, and he can come back with his own powerful strikes as well. He is great in a brawl, and I think that is one of the things that works out really well for him in most of his fights is that he can just get in a brawl, and it's going to work out nice because he's going to throw big, heavy shots and block a lot with his face, and it's going to work out okay for him because it's only cost him once. Now, his striking defense is terrible because his hands are way down low, and he's blocking a lot of shots with his face. But I think in this matchup, with a guy that's willing to get into a brawl with a more technical striker that likes to come forward, I think it's going to favor the guy that wants to get in a brawl when they're also about 8 years apart in age. So, for me, I'm going to lean Chris Duncan here. I actually like him in this matchup because I do think he's going to turn this fight into a brawl. And I think when it comes to a brawl, I think he's going to put Omar Morales down before Omar Morales puts down Chris Duncan. That's just where I'm at. Let me know what you guys think. This isn't my favorite pick of the card. Don't get me wrong. I know I made it pretty quick and made it sound like it was an easy one, but it's not. It's a close fight. But I will see you guys in ourselves at featherweight here with Makwan Amirkhani taking on Jack Shore. Now, real quick, if you haven't done so already and you're finding yourself enjoying this video, go ahead and hit like for me. I appreciate it very much. Now, let's go ahead and break this down. Now, for Amirkhani, he is 1-4 in his last 5. Not been on the best run, but 4-1 for Jack Shore, coming off his only loss to Ricky Simone, who obviously no shame in losing there. That guy's on a tear. That's the dude that got his that knocked out Duvalishvili. So there you go. Ricky Simone is not a bad loss. Now, sure, you don't ever want to lose, but if you're gonna lose, a guy like that is not the guy, not somebody you want to worry about too much. Now, it's gonna happen. So in this matchup here, for Amirkhani, we're gonna start with him because he's very simple to break down. Why is that? Well, he's got good wrestling, solid takedowns. When he gets into the mat, he's very good at grappling, and he can lock up chokes really fast. So, Makwan Amirkhani, super dangerous, especially right away in the fight. Super dangerous with those chokes in the first round. Now, here's the problem. He's got kind of average striking, and his cardio fades very hard after the first round. So he's kind of first rounder bust. Now, we're going up against a guy like Jack Shore, where strong grappling, don't get me wrong, I should have mixed some of this up. I should have switched this around, but he gets the takedowns from the wrestling clinch predominantly. So we get into that wrestling clinch with the over-under or whatever and work and, or double unders, whatever. But he gets in that wrestling clinch. Not a tie clinch, wrestling clinch more so. And what he'll do is then he'll work trips, throws, and just standard takedowns from that clinch. When he does that, he is a back taker. He likes to take the back. When he gets on the back of his opponent, what he does is he flattens them out and then just starts peppering them with ground and pound. It's very much volume over power. He's not throwing anything heavy. He's just volume with some kind of lazy punches or whatever. But what he does is he does that until either the ref steps in because he realizes that they can't move, or they give him the rear naked choke. One of those two things happens. Now, can he use this grappling against a guy like Makwan? Who knows? That's going to be a tricky one because Amirkhani is very good with his grappling. Now, on the other side, the takedown defense of Jack Shore is very good, actually. I like it a lot. Now, yes, can he get taken down by the elite grapplers, like such as a Ricky Simone, for example? Yeah, okay, fine. But he does have a very nice sprawl, and in the UFC so far, I believe he's still at like an 86% takedown defense. And having a fight against Ricky Simone, which he lost, that's a pretty good stat. So, does have decent striking of his own, though, as well. Now, he's defensively sound in the striking, which is the most important thing for this matchup because he does want to get it to the ground. He's a grappler. But on the feet, he's hard to hit. He does not absorb a ton of strikes, and that's mostly because of the way that he, keeps his guard high, moves out of the way, and then uses his grappling to kind of freeze people on the striking. Now, I don't think he's going to have to worry too much about Amirkhani's striking. It's going to be the grappling. So this fight is really easy to break down for the simple fact that if you're on the Amirkhani side, you're thinking round one submission, right? I mean, what else is there? I mean, he's getting that round one submission or he's not. And if he doesn't, you got to be on the Jack Shore side. For me, I find myself on the Jack Shore side, but it's not without risk because, like I said, Amirkhani does have that submission in the first round upside. But I'm going to take Jack Shore. I think he can survive that first round. I think he has the grappling credentials, the grappling skills to be able to do that. So I'm taking Shore. Let me know who you guys have, and I will see you in the middleweight division with a matchup that I'm very excited for. We have Roman Dolidze coming in 4-1 in his last 5, taking on Marvin Vettori, who is 3-2 in his last 5. His 2 losses coming to Adesanya and Whitaker, who are 2 of the best in the division. So not a bad resume to have here, though. Both guys, very, very top-tier fighters in the middleweight division, just outside of those couple of guys I mentioned a moment ago. Roman Dolidze, he has a 2-inch height and reach advantage, as you see there. Interesting stylistic matchup, and interesting also from the sense that I've seen a lot of love on the Roman Dolidze side, but the odds are still pretty heavily in favor of Vettori. So I don't know why that is. It's because a lot of the people seem to be picking Dolidze here. A lot of the like Tapology and all that good stuff, but so I'm not really sure. But let's break this down. Maybe we can get a little clearer here. We're going to start with Roman Dolidze. High-level grappling. He's a huge toolbox when he gets to the ground. But the thing that I like the best out of him is the leg locks. Whether there's heel hooks, that calf slicer attempt he had on Jack Hermanson. But the leg locks, particularly because a lot of MMA fighters don't have good leg lock defense. And Roman Dolidze has good application of his leg locks. Now, he has decent wrestling. So if he wants to get the fight to the ground, he can. But a lot of times it's because his takedowns come at the end of his strikes. He'll come forward with his 1-2 or whatever it is. And then as you're defending the strikes, because he does have pretty decent power in those strikes, he's able to then get the takedown. Because, like I said, decent striker, but it's the power that makes up for the lack of polish and quality. So good power, can kind of use those to set up the takedown and get you to the mat and work his grappling. Now, the power might not phase a guy like Vettori, because Vettori is an aggressive fighter with forward pressure. Kind of just zombies forward, honestly, because he's got a chin like stone. And when you hit him in the head, he just doesn't seem to register it. So for Vettori, he's just going to keep coming forward, and he's going to use, southpaw, so he's going to use that odd kind of striking that he has. I put him down as average striking, and I don't know really how to quantify it, but he does this thing where he throws the 2-1 more often than the 1-2. Now, a lot of people throw their jab into their cross. Vettori likes to throw the cross into the jab, and it throws a lot of his opponents off. And then sometimes he'll go the 2-1-2, but when he's throwing his punches, it throws a lot of guys off because they're not expecting that coming their way. And then him out of the southpaw stance already adds an odd look for them. So he is fairly powerful for a guy that's more known for his volume. His volume is where it's at, but the power is there. He can land with a stinger on you if he connects flush. Now, the problem that I see out of Vettori is because he's just always coming forward, lumbering forward with that. He's kind of heavy on his lead leg and doesn't really check leg kicks. So leg kicks can pile up in damage on a guy like Vettori. Roman Dolidze isn't a top-tier leg kicker by any means, but, I mean, it's a glaring weakness. You may take advantage of it. So for the wrestling for Vettori, he does have decent wrestling, and a lot of times it's just his constant pressure that ends up getting him the takedown. So that is there, and when he does get on top, he does have decent top control. However, I don't think he wants to go to the ground in this one because Dolidze is very good on the ground, whether he's off his back or on top. He's going to be able to sweep, change positions, whatever. He's going to be able to get that. So for me, I'm looking at this matchup, and I just don't understand why the odds are the way they are. I'm taking Dolidze here. The dude's always an underdog, but he keeps winning fights. I'm taking Dolidze. How do you not at this point, right? I mean, I understand the love for Vettori. I understand why he is the favorite. But if you're going to give me Dolidze at these odds, I'm taking Dolidze. Gosh darn it. So there we are. You have my pick. I'll see you guys in the next fight. At the women's flyweight division here, we have Casey O'Neill, who's still undefeated, 5-0 in her last 5, obviously. Taking on Jennifer Maia, who's kind of been at the top of the division for the longest of times. She's only 2-3 in her last 5, though, so there is that. There is a bit of a height and reach advantage on the O'Neill side. She's got a couple inches in height and a few inches in reach. Let's break this fight down, though. And here's the thing, because there are a lot of fights on this card that I'm either mega confident in, and there are a lot of fights on this card that I'm also very back and forth on, that I'm not confident in whatsoever. This is one that I'm not confident in whatsoever. And you can find my full confidence picks on patreon.com/138MMA, where you can find a rating next to each of my picks with confidence broken down. So there's that. But in this one here, we have Casey O'Neill, who has just decent striking. She's aggressive with her volume, and that helps her a lot in the striking department. But the wrestling is kind of where she really needs to get her stuff done. Now, she does have a bit of a Muay Thai background, but I do think that the wrestling is kind of better for her in her career most of the time. She is able to out-muscle her opponents a lot from the top. She'll get on top or get a hold of them, muscle them to the mat, muscle on top. She does have good top control. If she does end up on the bottom, she can sweep. She can get back to her feet or get back to the top position if need be. For the Maia side, she's got good boxing. She's very durable. She's able to kind of keep it, keep the fight standing or on the mat and do well in either spot. But the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is where she excels. Now, she's incredibly dangerous off her back, but she's deadly from the top position. If Jennifer Maia can get on top of Casey O'Neill in this matchup for any length of time, I do think Jennifer Maia is going to be in a significant advantage. However, if Casey O'Neill can get on top of Jennifer Maia in this matchup, I do think that Casey O'Neill is going to have a significant advantage. So this one's going to come down to who can get on top of the other one, and also what do the striking exchanges look like in the meantime. I have a really hard time with this, and I actually just switched my pick like 2 hours ago. I was originally on the Casey O'Neill side, and I jumped over to Jennifer Maia here, and I may switch back, but right now I'm thinking Maia's still going to be able to get this one done. It's the last matchup for Casey O'Neill, the Roxanne Modafferi fight, that gives me a little bit of pause because, yeah, I know she got the win, but Jennifer Maia is a pretty big step up in competition from Roxanne Modafferi, and it was a close matchup. So I'm going to go ahead and take Jennifer Maia here. She did it right by me in her last matchup, so I'm taking her here. Let me know what you guys have. If you got a strong lean on the Casey O'Neill side, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. And let's go ahead and get on to that welterweight matchup here, in which the odds are just, in fact, that. They are odd. We have Gunnar Nelson coming in as a massive favorite over Bryan Barberena. Now, for Gunnar Nelson, he's 2-3 in his last 5, 3-2 on the Barberena side. And when the odds have a 2-3 guy as a massive favorite, sometimes you've got to wonder what's going on there. Now, I think it's recency bias, a lot of it, because Barberena's coming off that lost RDA, where he didn't look the best, but you have Gunnar Nelson coming off of a big win after being gone for probably most people's memory, getting his first win, so we got that as well. So it's interesting to me, because I don't think that these odds are correct, but I don't know what I could do about it. So let's break this down a little. So for Gunnar Nelson, he's got decent striking, uses that kind of karate style. The striking defense isn't great, but it's there-ish. His defense isn't the best. Realistically, he wants to get this to the mat because he does have solid Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The problem is his wrestling is so-so. Sometimes he can get the takedown, other times he struggles. But once he does get this fight to the mat, or if this fight ends up on the mat anyway, that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is there, and the submission upside is very, very likely. So, fight gets to the mat, Gunnar Nelson, big upside in the submission. However, on the feet, Bryan Barberena excels in a brawl, and he's willing to make this fight into a brawl. He will give one to take one. He's got a lot of volume and a lot of pressure. And a guy like Gunnar Nelson, that's not exactly what you want. So for me, Barberena on the feet is going to get the nod, but on the ground, it's going to definitely be on the Nelson side. Now, Barberena has decent wrestling. I don't think he's going to go for a takedown here, but what he does have is an initial takedown defense that's not bad. If you follow that up and continue on the takedowns, yes, you can get him to the mat, no problem. Guys like RDA were able to do it, but RDA is a very good wrestler. Now, for Barberena, though, like I said, that initial takedown defense, if he can make Gunnar Nelson pay, Barberena is going to do pretty darn well there. Now, man. Guys, I'm going to tell you, this is the fight on the card that if I've ever seen one, this is the time to kick your feet up on that coffee table, crack open a couple of cold root beers, toss them back one after the other, and just enjoy the show. Because let me tell you what, this fight is going to be super hard to predict. I know a lot of people are really high on Gunnar Nelson. I just don't see why. But I also am not confident enough in Bryan Barberena to go that route either. I've switched my picks so many times on this matchup. I am going to change my pick again right now, actually. In my notes, I can't show you actually because it's got some Patreon-only content on there. But in my notes, I have it marked that I'm on the Gunnar Nelson side. I'm going to lean Barberena right now. Like I said, I'm not confident in whatsoever. But I'm going to take Barberena because I think he's going to be able to make this a brawl and make it ugly. And he's going to go into enemy territory and get this win over Gunnar Nelson. I might change this pick. There's a couple of them on this card. Like I said, I'm not confident in whatsoever. But I'm going to take Barberena. Let me know what you guys have. I know you're probably going to think I'm crazy for picking against Nelson, but that's where I'm at. Let's see what you guys got. And I'll see about the time that I started writing this stuff up on the board that I realized I should have done a full, detailed, individual breakdown of this matchup. But it's a little late now because here we are on the full card preview, and I'm going to go ahead and break this down. But bear with me. It is a little bit lengthier of a breakdown. In this one, we have a matchup at lightweight between Rafael Fiziev, coming in 5-0 in his last 5, taking on Justin Gaethje, who is 3-2 in his last 5. Now, real quick, if you're still here and you're still enjoying yourself, why don't you go ahead and hit like for me? I appreciate it very much. And also, kind of save yourself some time next time you want to come back to one of these videos and hit subscribe if you haven't done so already, because then you can find all of my videos right there in your subscriptions tab, and then as my videos come out, you'll know right where to find them. These UFC full card breakdowns typically come out on Tuesdays. Everything else is kind of a bonus and usually comes out a little bit earlier. Now, anyway, let's get back to this fight. So, this should be a striker's delight because both of these guys typically want to strike. I don't think anybody out there is expecting these guys to come out here and have a jiu-jitsu match. But let's start with Fiziev or Fiziev. Is it Fiziev or Fiziev? I don't know. I don't know which one you want to go. Whatever. I'm going to refer to him as one or the other or interchangeably. I can't tell you. He has very high-level Muay Thai, and I do believe he was the Muay Thai coach, or still is. I think he's back there now at, Tiger Muay Thai? Very good Muay Thai. He's got technical striking. His kicks are actually his best. His punches are like, all right, don't get me wrong, but the kicks are where it's at. His kicking game is very strong. Now, he does have good movement on the feet, in and out, kind of light on the toes when he needs to be, and he has very fast strikes, especially with those kicks. The punches, like I said, not too bad, but the kicks are where that speed comes from. Now, the problem is he doesn't check leg kicks whatsoever, or hardly at all, and that is a problem when you're going up against a guy like Justin Gaethje, but we'll get into that in a moment. But something else that's interesting about Fiziev is when he's in a brawl, he just starts to wing these wild hooks. I don't want to punch my camera, but he starts to wing these wild hooks and just leave his chin up and just fling punches. And we saw it a lot in the Brad Riddell fight, where in an exchange, he would start winging those hooks, and like, dude, you don't want to do that against Justin Gaethje. That's a problem. But he might also be able to keep Justin Gaethje at range. So if he can keep him at range, he won't end up in that brawl. So there's that. Now, the power is often what keeps his opponents unwilling to get into that exchange because he does hit very hard. Nothing's going to keep Justin Gaethje out of an exchange. But Fiziev typically can use that. And I don't think so in this matchup, but maybe. The thing is, he does adjust his striking very well mid-fight, and that's important because a lot of times what he likes to do is be the first one to strike, then you throw, and he counters that. So he'll strike, get you to throw, and then counter. He likes to do that a lot, but he also kind of struggles if he's the one that doesn't get a strike first, and he's going up against a guy that's going to come forward on him. So he's going to have to adjust, and I do believe he will be able to adjust because Fiziev is very good at that, and he has done it in matchups in the past where he's able to adjust and be the one to counter rather than to go first and then counter a baited shot. So anyway, in case we do get into the grappling, he does have solid takedown defense. It's mostly because of his balance. He's very balanced on his feet. I imagine this guy played a lot of monkey bar tag as a kid. Just kidding, I don't know. But either way, he does have a really nice sprawl to clinch. So when he sprawls, he doesn't sprawl and then get back out to space. He sprawls, and then when you come up, he brings you into his clinch and then starts working his Muay Thai from there. And it's very important for a guy like Fiziev, I guess, to be able to work that in there. And realistically, he's not going to need it in this matchup, but we're covering anyway. For the Justin Gaethje side, now there's a lot of footage on Justin Gaethje, as you can tell. I mean, 23-4 in his career. That's a lot of fights. So we have a lot to go off of. The dude is a solid striker and uses the block and fire back or the block and return method of of striking, similar to what Jai Herbert earlier in the card. He'll block, and a lot of times he comes back with an uppercut, which is something that not many people do, and I do like that for him, especially in this matchup with the way that Fiziev has the tie guard. I do like the way that he fires back with those uppercuts. Now, he does come forward with a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of things I don't like about Justin Gaethje's way of walking forward. He's going to walk through stuff, okay? Not anything other than just, yeah, I'm just going to go forward, and if you're going to hit me, that's fine, because once I finally get in, I'm going to land on you, and that's kind of what he does. The footwork isn't there. He doesn't really do anything with it. He just comes forward and just walks right into things, which, I mean, it's worked for him so far in his career. I mean, look at that record. That's pretty damn good. But the volume is there. He will keep throwing punches through the whole fight. If this was a 5-round fight, I could imagine Gaethje being the one that's still throwing heavy in the 5th round, whereas not so much Fiziev. But this is a 3-round fight, and that levels the playing field quite a bit. The power is there. He's got decent power, but he's also got combinations. The leg kick, though, this is something that we need to point out. I'm going to go ahead and point this out right here. His ability to check leg kicks versus his ability to throw leg kicks. Gaethje checks leg kicks, and he also throws leg kicks, and he throws them from very close because all of his fights take place right up here. Now, they got really close to me there, but all of his fights take place in a phone booth. So when he's throwing those leg kicks from the phone booth, basically what he's doing is making it so you don't even have time to check him if he wanted to. But if he does want to check him, well, guess what? Rafael Fiziev is not going to check those leg kicks. So that's something that Gaethje's going to have on him. But unfortunately, like I said, this is a 3-round fight, so it doesn't favor the long game of Gaethje here. He can also overcommit on his strikes, and that's a problem because what does that do? Well, it wears you out because you're throwing these big, heavy strikes and trying not to fall over. Could end up on the mat because of it, which I don't think that's really going to happen, but it could. But he can also get countered, and that is not good because if Justin Gaethje gets countered by Fiziev, dude, that could be lights out for you. The guy hits very hard. Because Gaethje is all offense, no defense. He's a 100% offense over defense. His ability to defend is, yeah, he'll check the kick while he's moving forward, and he'll block while he's going forward, but that's it. He's not doing evasive maneuvers, really. He's not looking to, like, stay out of danger. He's looking to make this as nasty as he can. Now, he does have solid wrestling, so he does have great takedown defense with a nice sprawl. I have a lot more information on Justin Gaethje's wrestling and grappling, but I couldn't fit it on the board, so this just gave me a chance to plug the Patreon. Patreon.com/138MMA. You can find all of my notes on there, and you'll get the full notes on Justin Gaethje, including all the stuff on his grappling and wrestling that I left out of this because I didn't fit them on there, and I don't think these guys are going to grapple. But if you wanted to look at that, that's where you can find it. Now, I will say he does have explosive, powerful takedowns when he wants to use them. Before the UFC, he used these a lot. Pick guys up, slam them down, ragdoll them, and just throw relentless ground and pound once he does get them to the ground. The problem is, he doesn't really do that anymore. Now he's a striker, and pretty much exclusively. So, the good news, though, outside of his single-minded approach, which is not good, he's very durable, and he does have the cardio to match. Justin Gaethje is kind of just that. I don't want to call him a lightweight Marvin Vettori, because Marvin Vettori is just not as skilled in the striking as Justin Gaethje, but you get the idea, where he's just going to kind of almost zombie forward and just throw shots at you. The only thing I'd say about Gaethje is that he's a lot more polished in the striking than someone like Vettori. But Justin Gaethje, he's the guy that's going to come through and just throw bombs with you. And that's going to be a problem for a guy like Fiziev. Fiziev needs to make this fight technical. He needs to be able to work his Muay Thai. He does not want to get into a brawl with Justin Gaethje. This fight is very close. And like I've said in a couple of fights already, I'm going to kick my feet up on the coffee table. I'm going to crack open a couple of cold root beers. And I'm probably going to be 3, 4, 5, 6 root beers deep by this point in the card. And that's okay, because this is going to be a fun fight to watch. And this is like the people's main event, if you ask me. We all want to see this fight. For my pick, nobody's on my side. I'm going to take Justin Gaethje. Why do I think that? Because I think stylistic, I know everybody says that Justin Gaethje, or that Fiziev is a terrible stylistic matchup for Justin Gaethje. I think Justin Gaethje is a terrible stylistic matchup for Fiziev, because I think that when he gets into there and starts swinging bombs and Fiziev starts swinging these wild hooks like this, Fiziev's getting cracked. And when he gets put on the ground, if Gaethje follows up with that ground and pound like he used to be able to do, and he may still, if he decides to follow up with that ground and pound, it's going to be over. Because Justin Gaethje is a hammer of all hammers, and when he's the nail, he's fine with that. He's just going to keep on coming. Now, something that he is susceptible to, though, is the body kick. And I do think that's something we got to worry about coming from a Fiziev if you're on the Gaethje side. Like I said, this is my feet on the coffee table drinking root beers fight, okay? I'm not going to be betting this fight. I'm just going to watch it. I'm just going to enjoy it. But just in case she's the pick, I do think he can avoid the body kicks. I do think he's going to be able to get those hands going, getting close enough that Fiziev can't land the body shots. And I think he's going to be able to walk away with the victory here. It's going to be a tough fight, but if Gaethje gets the win, I won't be surprised one bit. I know he's a big underdog. That's where I'm at. Let me know what you guys think. I picked way too many underdogs in this card. I'm probably going to go back and rethink a couple of them, but that's where I'm at right now. And that's because there's so many close fights on this card. So that's where I'm at. Let me know what you guys have, and let's go to that. There you have it, folks. We've made it to the main event. Now, last reminder, if you go ahead and like this video, if you're still sticking around and you're enjoying yourself, go ahead and like this video for me. I appreciate it very much. Potentially subscribe to the channel so you can find all my content going forwards right there in your subscriptions. Easy to find, all that good stuff. And if you're really enjoying yourself, head on over to the Patreon, patreon.com/138MMA to get everything that I offer. My notes, my confidence with my picks, all that good stuff. Everything. Now, let's go ahead and get into this main event real quick. Now, I'm not going to go into detail here because while I have a full video out breaking down this fight in depth. So I'm going to give you the quick layout where I'm at, and you can check that out if you're interested in finding my full, in-depth, kind of breakdown of this particular fight. Now, with this one here, obviously Edwards and Usman are 1-1 in their matchups. It's clear Leon Edwards has the striking advantage, and it's clear that Kamaru Usman has the wrestling advantage. I'm simplifying because, like I said, there's a full breakdown. So far, I'm leaning towards Usman, but that may change. Go check out my video for a full explanation. I would love for you to go over there, check it out, understand what I'm talking about, and then give me a comment. Let me know where you're at. But until then, I will go ahead and see you guys in the next video. And don't worry, I will update you if I change my pick before the fights come out. So I'll talk to you guys very soon. See you in the next video.